We just fit. It's like they designed the room for us or something. After visiting some of the other places, to be able to visit an ISKCON temple makes us appreciate ISKCON temples. The deity worship and so many things. I hope you enjoyed the bus ride, especially the time at the toll booth. You understood why it took so long? Some of you do. The Prime Minister made a declaration. Yes? People were printing counterfeit currency, 500 and 1,000 rupee notes. So the Prime Minister made a declaration starting today, they will not be honored. So the drivers have to pay in 100 currency notes. And some people weren't prepared. So the lines take very long. And we happened to travel on the first day of all of that. And we have another, I don't need those, I just need the table, thank you. I just need the table, I don't need that, thank you. Thank you. So I'll try to not speak too long because we have more travel ahead of us. And more toll booths, and more 100 rupee notes. I think our drivers are prepared. It's the ones ahead of us that are not prepared that causes the problem. We just came from Raivata mountain, which has its connection with Dwaraka, not only because of Skanda Purana, but because of Krishna's pastimes. And there's a very wonderful and important pastime that we didn't discuss, that we're now going to discuss, that's found in Srimad Bhagavatam, and that is in connection with the marriage of Arjuna and Subadra. The marriage didn't take place there, but the taking of Subadra on his chariot by Arjuna took place there at Raivata mountain. So the description goes, some of this is a refresher of what we've heard several times before. After the attempt by Duryodhana and others, Purochana and others, to kill Kunti and the Pandavas in the house of lac, by the intervention of Vidura and Krishna's mercy, they didn't die. They knew of the plan. The very evening it was planned that they would be burned alive. By Vidura's kind arrangement, a tunnel had already been dug, and they themselves put the house on fire and went through the tunnel to the other end of the tunnel to the edge of the river where Vidura was waiting with a boat and crossed the river And they continued for some period of time where people thought that they were dead. There's a detail. Unknown to the Pandavas, there was, this was on the evening of a big festival. This was kind of like a summer home, and there was a big festival that evening. So 5 sons and a mother who were rather poor and a little intoxicated were given a room to stay because they were travelers and there was a big house for them to stay in. So when the house burned, those bones of 1 woman and 5 men were found. So people assumed Kunti and the Pandavas were dead. Krishna came, took part in the funeral, knowing perfectly well that the Pandavas and Kunti were not dead, but he wept tears along with the other grieving family members. And the Pandavas began traveling disguised as brahmanas, big shoulders, powerful arms, disguised as brahmanas. Hidimbi became Bhima's wife after killing of the Yaksha, Rakshasa, Hidimba, her brother. They went to Ekachakra at the advice of Vyas. There Bhima killed the demon Baka. Those of you that have been to Ekachakra know this whole pastime. And after that took place, they were traveling along the road, disguised as brahmanas. They heard some other brahmanas speaking about the Swayamvar ceremony of Draupadi. Krishna came to attend the Swayamvar. Krishna and Balaram came to attend the Swayamvar of Draupadi. None of the kings or princes could accomplish the task of looking at some water in a pool. So the reflection of a moving object with one hole in it, and through the hole on the other side was a golden fish, and the challenge was to pierce the eye of the fish. Impossible. Long story, keeping it short. When all the princes and kings failed, the call went out. Draupadi's brother Drishtadumna called out, anyone else in the assembly? Arjuna looked at his priest Domya. Domya nodded. They didn't say anything. Arjuna stood up. Since there are no Kshatriyas, I'm a Brahmana, may I participate? So a Brahmana can marry a princess or a Kshatriya-born lady. So permission was given. He was successful. Draupadi gave her wedding garland to Arjuna. As Arjuna was escorting Draupadi out, a battle that started, the other Kshatriyas, alone, Bhima with his club and Arjuna with his bow and arrow defeated them all. All. Like Kurukshetra battle, before it even happened, they already won. Many other things, the 5 brothers all married Draupadi. We discussed all this. They stayed for some time in Kampilya, the palace of Drupad. Krishna was there also, just to honor the king. After some time, Vidura came from Hastinapur. visited Kampilya. Krishna was there, the Pandavas were there, Kunti was there, Draupadi was there. He said, you should come back to Hastinapur. Krishna agreed. They came back to Hastinapur. And everybody was happy except Duryodhana and his 99 brothers. A public assembly was held. Vidura made an intense plea to Dhritarashtra, basically do the right thing. Dhritarashtra couldn't do the right thing, but he half did the right thing. He divided the kingdom in half. Half of the kingdom, with Hastinapur as the capital, went to his sons, and a forest went to the Pandavas. Krishna arranged for Vishvakarma to build a city in the forest. So Kandava Prastha became, Indraprastha became the capital of the Pandavas. And fame spread in all directions. Other things happened. Mayadanava built a fabulous palace for the Pandavas in the middle of the city of Indraprastha. And they ruled in Indraprastha with such dignity and virtue and all good qualities that very quickly the fame, the reputation, the admiration of the Pandavas exceeded that of the Kauravas very quickly, because they stood by virtue. And their example was, when you stand by virtue, everything good will follow. You live by goodness, and goodness will decorate your lives with success. So with that standard, they had an arrangement whereby for 1 month, Draupadi would be with one of the 5 brothers, and the other 4 brothers would not enter when they were alone with each one of the 5 brothers. And if violated, part of the agreement was they would go on pilgrimage for a year to purify themselves for that transgression of a commitment made amongst brothers. So one day in Indraprastha, a Brahmana came outside the palace gate, calling out loudly, "It is the duty of a Kshatriya to give protection to the Brahmana. The virtuous Pandavas must give protection. There are some dacoits that are taking cows that are the property of the Brahmanas. The Pandavas must come at once, otherwise they're a disgrace to the royal order," and just very loudly, again and again, and Arjuna heard. And Arjuna had a dilemma. We sometimes have dilemmas in our lives, don't we? The dilemma was, he was supposed to give protection to the Brahmanas, and his consideration was, if not, it would take away credit to Yudhisthira. People would criticize Yudhisthira for the Brahmanas not being protected. But on the other hand, where the weapons for protection were was in the room where Yudhisthira and Draupadi were. So he had to break the promise. And Kshatriyas don't break promises. So he chose to break the promise in preference to giving protection to the Brahmanas. He went right into the room where Yudhisthira and Draupadi were. Didn't look left or right, just went right to the place where the weapons were, took his bow, took his arrows, left the room, got on his chariot with the Brahmana, had the Brahmana identify where the dacoits were, and he annihilated the dacoits with his weapons, retrieved the cows, reinstated the cows to the Brahmana. The Brahmana was very relieved. He felt protected. Then it's the duty of the Kshatriyas to do that, protect and uphold the position of Brahmanas. When Arjuna came back, Yudhishthira was waiting for him at the gate, along with the other 4 Pandavas, extolling the virtue of Arjuna, the hero, for giving protection to the Brahmanas, just as Krishna, Brahmanya Devaya Krishna, would give protection and shelter to the Brahmanas. But Arjuna had a different mindset. His mindset was, I may have done the right thing, but I also broke a promise, and we agreed if the promise was broken, then whoever broke the promise must purify themselves by going on pilgrimage for 1 year. So I must go. And Yudhishthira said so many things, and the other brothers said so many things. Yudhishthira said, I understood when you came in that there must be some higher purpose, otherwise you would never even consider like this. And because you did for the purpose of what's pleasing to Krishna, in the course of executing your duty to Krishna, you did the right thing. And you shouldn't consider you did the wrong thing and now you need to atone for some wrong thing. Arjuna countered, saying, my dear brother, you have always taught us that one must stand by the truth. You give your word, you keep your word. When standards of dharma are to be upheld, you uphold them. And Arjuna, Yudhishthira said, well, there's this dharmic rule that says the elder brother should not enter the room of the younger brother when he's with his wife, but the younger brother can enter the room of the elder brother. That's dharma. Said, nonetheless, whatever the inconvenience may be, you have always taught us we must uphold. Word was given, word must be kept. I'm going to the forest. I'm going on pilgrimage. Again and again they tried to dissuade him, nothing worked. Yudhishthira finally resolved in his mind, there must be some higher purpose, some will of providence in all of this that I can't understand. But the virtuous Arjuna is meant to be an instrument of Krishna in some way. So he yielded. I give my blessing, because Arjuna wouldn't do anything without the blessing of his elder brother, part of Vedic culture. So Arjuna left, and he decided to go first heading along the path of the Ganga up into the Himalayas, and then travel down the eastern side of Bharatvarsha, and then come up the western side. Many things happened in between, but the part that's relevant to the Raivata mountain is Arjuna, when traveling, came to the city of Dwaraka. Now, Dwaraka is by the sea, and it's a pilgrimage place. And Arjuna halted at the bridge indicating in Mahabharata that there was a golden bridge that went from the land, maybe only a pedestrian bridge, it doesn't say, but a golden bridge from the land to Dwaraka. And he halted on the land side of the bridge, sent a messenger to Krishna that he had come. Immediately Krishna stopped what he was doing. Krishna came to see Krishna came to see his dear friend Arjuna. And naturally, they had their talks. How has your travels been? Where have you been? What experiences? And Arjuna asking Krishna what's happening in Dwaraka. And Arjuna didn't waste any time. He said, I've come to Dwaraka specifically to explore the possibility of marrying your sister, Subadra. I've heard from your younger brother meaning one of the wives of Vasudeva had a son named Gada, and from Gada, Arjuna had heard about Subadra, about her beauty, about her virtue, about her intelligence, about her qualities. And just hearing about all these things, he began meditating on Subadra, thinking, maybe if she so desires, and if Krishna approves, and if Yudhisthira approves, then maybe she can become my wife. So he began very directly exploring this with Krishna. And Krishna thought, this is a very good idea. Then Krishna explained the obstacles called life. And the principal obstacle was Balaram. Balaram, being the elder brother, Krishna said to Arjuna, is like the chief here. Of course, Ugrasena is the king, but what Balaram says carries a lot of weight. And Balaram has been very clear who he wants Subadra to marry. Duryodhana. Because it's one of these very puzzling parts of Mahabharata or Krishna's pastimes. How could Balaram like that despicable, abominable, disgusting Duryodhana? It's one of those things. It's just part of Krishna's pastimes. He has some liking for Duryodhana. He taught Duryodhana when he went to visit the king of Mithila for several years. It's there that he taught Duryodhana how to use a club to fight, which was then used in fighting against one of the Pandavas of all Bhima. So that's the obstacle. And let us both think on a plan how this can be done, how you can gain the hand of Subadra. And I'll make a suggestion for starters. The suggestion is, let's just see if Subadra becomes attracted to you. I think you'll become attracted to her. And the only way to get even to see her or her to see you is you have to come, you can't come in, Arjuna. Krishna suggested, come in disguise, grow your beard a little bit, put on saffron cloth, take a tridanda, and wait a few days. It's it's the beginning of the Kartik season, so you can't travel so much anyways, and you have to be back by the end of the Kartik season. So in these several months ahead of us, you come into Dwaraka as a sannyasi, Krishna's plan. And Balaram has a soft spot. He really likes entertaining renunciates. I'll just put in the word, hey, there's a new renunciate in town. And most likely he'll invite you for a meal. And when he has meals, Subadra will serve the meal because Balaram is really protective. He keeps Subadra in his palace. so no one even can see her. But if you come as a sannyasi, you'll see her, she'll see you. Butter and fire, let's see what happens. Arjuna liked the plan. So he waited some days, found a place where he could get a tridanda, some saffron cloth, let his beard grow, put his hair in matted locks. I guess there's hairstylists that can do that at the time. They certainly have them today. In New York, it's like one of the standard things. Along with the ladies with the nails, they have the guys with the hair. So, Arjuna, after some days, crossed the bridge, golden bridge, into Dwaraka. The guards stationed along the way to protect the city of Dwaraka, just with folded palms, nodded, and Arjuna entered. Krishna greeted him, set him up in the sannyas area, gave him his own little house where he could stay, told Balaram, hey, guess what? There's a new sannyasi in town. Oh, really? Where's he staying? Well, I think he's staying over there. Oh, I'll make an arrangement for him to come. So he came. On Balaram's invitation to have lunch. And this happened several times. The Mahabharata, it's really funny. He's trying to pay attention to his meal, but his eyes are going to Subadra. And how ladies can understand when a man is staring at them. They have like this special radar. They know what's going on. And so that he was attracted to her, became noticed by her, and she was just trying to understand something about this person. Underneath the beard, she could see he had very wonderful features. His shoulders were broad like a lion. It's not the usual Brahmanas that would come to visit Balaram. His arms were like elephant trunks, very strong and powerful. I've never seen a Brahmana like this. I wonder who he is. I wonder where he comes from. And she started thinking about this curious sannyasi. In the course of the 4 months of the rainy season, several other invitations came, and the chemistry started to happen. The butter melted in the fire. Then Krishna arranged a little private discussion with Subadra on the marriage topic. And what are your thoughts about marriage? And right away she said, that's unusual sannyasi, I'm very attracted to him. And then Krishna said, what are your thoughts about Duryodhana? And her face wrinkled. Because from Arjuna's side, he also was noble, and if she didn't have attraction for him, and he made this clear to Krishna, then that's fine, and I'll just quietly depart. But if she has attraction, then maybe we can consider how something can happen. So she expressed her attraction for Krishna and the opposite towards Duryodhana. And there's another very nice point. Krishna mentioned Arjuna's name. He had one of the Pandavas, the Pandava named Arjuna. He's considering who might be a good wife. He didn't say that sannyasi was Arjuna, but the light went on. Subadra then thought, why didn't I figure this out? Certainly, this person is a great hero, a great prince, a great warrior. He's not a brahmana. I should have considered like that. So she indicated to Krishna she liked the idea. That's all Krishna needed. Of course, he's omniscient, but it's a Leela. So he asked her. Then he went to Arjuna, because Arjuna is now in Dwaraka, saying, the 4 months of the rainy season are drawing to a close. So it's getting to be time to take action. Here's Subadra's feelings, I know your feelings. Practically speaking, the only way that's going to work is if you do the hero's effort of coming along and forcibly taking her away. Because here's some of the reasons why it won't work if there's just some talk about it. And he gave his reasons. Balaram is fixed in this whole notion, the Duryodhana idea. So here's how it's going to work. So Krishna gave the game plan. You exit Dwaraka, go back outside on the other side of the bridge, and I'll give you my chariot with my horses. You've got already have your bow and arrows, and towards the end of the rainy season, Kartik month, we go to Revata mountain, or Raivata mountain. There's this nice murti of Damodar in the month of Kartik, and we have a big festival, and all the noble members of the Dwaraka clan will go, Subadra will go, and you can go. Be there on your chariot, she'll be outdoors, and you just take her away. Arjuna was, yeah, it's a good plan. So that's what happened. They went to Raivata mountain, the place where Balaram married Revati. They had this big festival, and Arjuna comes slowly rumbling into the festival area with his chariot. And Subadra hears the sound of the rumbling chariot wheels, and she looks and she sees Arjuna not in a sannyas outfit but in a kshatriya pose with his bow and his arrow and his Krishna's. She recognizes Krishna's chariot and Krishna's horses, which nobody can catch. And right in the midst of everybody, Arjuna brings his chariot, reaches out, extends his hand to Subadra, who accepts his hand, comes onto the chariot, and off he goes. And the Yadu dynasty members are shocked. Right in our midst. That must have been Arjuna. Who else would be so bold as to do something like that? And they started scrambling to get their weapons, and somehow the next part of the Srimad Bhagavatam description is they decide to go back to Dwaraka and in the Sudharma assembly hall make a plan. And I'm surprised they went all the way back to Dwaraka from Raivata mountain to make a plan. They could have done it right there. But that's what it says. And in the Sudharma hall, Balaram says, what should we do? And there's all these voices that say, war. And noise and noise. And Balaram says, wait a minute. Don't you notice that Krishna is remaining silent? And how can we do anything without the sanction and blessings of Krishna? So Krishna, what are your thoughts in this matter? Krishna smiles and says, I don't think this is an insult at all. I think it's a great honor. Consider, as we, members of the Yadu dynasty, would never sell our daughter, will accept, give our daughter in marriage for some money, and he's not going to accept, you give some dowry for the daughter and then he'll marry. Arjuna's not going to do that. Nor would he accept her as a gift, as if she's an animal, and just like give an animal to someone. So he chose the right path. And in Kshatriya standards of morality, this is noble. It's not like this never happened before. This is honorable. It's honorable for us as well as honorable for him. In fact, the Pandavas are the emperors of the world. And so, and Arjuna is an invincible warrior. And so if the two families are together in marriage, that'll be an enhancement for the strength of the Yadu dynasty. And besides that, you'll never catch him anyways, because he's on my chariot with my horses. So I suggest you send some messengers and invite Arjuna to come back to Dwaraka, and we'll have a nice marriage. And different persons had, the but ideas, and Krishna pacified all of them, and the whole mood went away from declaring war to let's bring them back and have a nice marriage in Dwaraka. So this very wonderful transcendental pastime, Yogamaya marrying Krishna's dear devotee Arjuna, the kidnapping of her in this Rakshasa style or Kshatriya style, took place at Raivata mountain. And we mentioned that the place where we were visiting, this Raivata mountain, is part of a sacred place What's the name? Something Nag? Yeah. Okay. Not Girinag, that's the mountain range. The town. Janagar. Janagat. So Narsi Mehta or Narasingha Mehta is from that area. So we're going to describe a little bit about this very transcendentally dedicated to Krishna Bhakta, and a little bit of the history. According to history that I have in front of me, his birth date was 1470, which means he's around the contemporary of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, maybe slightly older, but around that time. And he was born in a Brahmin family that had no interest at all in Vishnu Bhakti. They had no interest at all in worship of Lord Shiva. They were interested in performance of yagyas. That was it, and nothing else but it. When he was a young boy, he was not able to speak until he was 5 or 7 years of age. And naturally the parents were very concerned. So they took him to a Brahmana, and the Brahmana asked him to say Radha Govinda. So he immediately said Radha Govinda. And he smiled. The Brahmana smiled and said, just have him keep saying Radha Govinda. So the little boy kept saying Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda. I guess he had other vocabulary words he eventually said, but for a long time it was just Radha Govinda. His parents died when he was young, so he was placed in the care of his elder brother, Vangshidhar, and Vangshidhar's wife, Lalita Gauri. His elder brother had a good occupation, good paying job. He was engaged in working for the king, and his pay was 100 gold coins. Doesn't say, I guess it's per month, 100 gold coins per month. But Narasingha Mehta, not married, having no real interest in other than Krishna Bhakti, didn't have so much to do. So his brother made a recommendation, I can get you a job with the government. I have an in with the government. He said, well, I'm not really interested, but if you want me to do some work, I can do some work, but I want to sing Krishna bhajans while I'm at work. So he was given care of the king's cows and some other simple things, dealing with the land and the king's horses, and he would just sing Krishna bhajan. And when he would come back at the end of the day, he'd request his brother's wife for a meal, and she would insult him, saying, why should I feed you? You've hardly done any work today. This went on and on and on, and at one point he just asked, can I just have some water? He said, what do you think, I'm your servant that I have to bring you water? So, an important Vaishnava principle, he understood she didn't want him around. And as a Vaishnava, if someone doesn't want our presence, then we don't want to disturb that person. And so, in a detached manner, we can leave the place, not an angry manner or a get-back manner or I'll show you manner, just detached manner. So he started heading for the forest. Single man, heading for the forest. And on his way to the forest, he saw a temple of Lord Shiva, and he thought, Lord Shiva will be very kind. Let me just sit here in front of Lord Shiva's temple, and for 7 days and nights, without eating and sleeping and drinking water, he just sang Krishna bhajans. This is a famous personality. So Lord Shiva appeared before him and said, you pleased me so much by your devotional singing. Please request a boon from me. So very intelligently he said, I'm not very intelligent. I don't know what's best for me, but a well-wishing superior will know what's best for me, so you just give whatever you think is best for me. So the story of Narsi Mehta is that Lord Shiva took him to Krishna Loka and introduced him to the rasa dance and gave him a body of a female and the mood of a female fit to enter into the rasa dance. And Krishna noticed this nice gopi who was new to the rasa dance configuration and approached this nice gopi and said, I'd like to give you a benediction, a blessing. What is it that you would like? And this gopi said to Krishna, I'd like to simply sing devotional songs about you in this lifetime and any future lifetimes. Krishna smiled and said, yes, and in addition, I'll give you constant vision of me because of your purity of devotion. Now this is the story that people tell about Narsi Mehta. So then Narsi Mehta was then transported or somehow carried back to this plane of existence, and he just engaged himself in doing what he had requested Krishna's blessings to do. Going here, going there, in the city of Junagadh, and chanted Krishna bhajans. And one of his favorite places was Damodar Kund that we saw. Especially in the morning time, he would go and sing his morning bhajans and compose new morning bhajans. The people of that town, they didn't understand him. That sometimes happens. And so they would criticize him and even put him in danger. And he always just depended upon Krishna, and time again, the danger was resolved by Krishna's intervention, something like Kunti and the Pandavas. After this, he got married. And he married a woman that didn't match his devotion, but was a Vaishnav. Manik Gauri was her name, and they had 2 children. Shamlal was the son, and according to the narrator, it's a Gujarati gentleman who is narrating this. The daughter's name was Kunvar, but without pronouncing the N, becomes Kuvar, but spelled with an N. Those of you from Gujarat probably know about all this. Kuvar, spelled with an N, Kunvar. Narasingha Mehta just continued with his bhajans and didn't go to the office. He didn't go to something or other school of technology and learn how, information technology and how to write software programs and get a job. He didn't do that. He just sang Krishna bhajans and depended upon Krishna's mercy. And in fact, when he did get money, he just used the money for feeding the Vaishnavas and Brahmins. It was just his way of life. Now, his wife wasn't so happy with that way of life, but there was no way he was going to do anything other than that. He was just absorbed in it. And not in a stubborn way, in a fully devotional way. When it came time for his daughter to be married, he just continued with his bhajans. And the mother of the daughter, his wife, was getting, antsy and saying, what are you going to do about the marriage of your daughter? And he said, I'm going to do my bhajans. Yoga Kshema Vaham Yaham. Don't you know Bhagavad Gita? So his wife didn't like that answer, and she did what wives will sometimes do when they don't like the answer that they get. She persisted and ramped up the message, and he was finding her just disturbing. So what happened was, some family with a young man who needed a wife came to Nrsimha Mehta's home and said, we have a son of marriageable age, and we understand you have a daughter of marriageable age. We see her over there, she seems to be of good quality. And they negotiated and said, would you accept her as our son's wife. So it was agreed upon in principle. And then they consulted an astrologer when was an auspicious day. And there was only one more remaining auspicious day over the next half a year, and it happened to be 4 days away. So it was settled. Marriage would take place in 4 days, really fast. Whew. And then the family left. So, the girl's family have to make the arrangements, and Narsi Mehta is doing his Krishna bhajan. And the wife is going, do something. And he said, don't interrupt my bhajan. We have to make arrangements, please. He said, well, we don't have any money to make any arrangements. Well, then go get a loan. Well, who's going to trust me to get a loan? I don't have any money. Whenever I get money, I use it to feed the brahmanas. And so she said, well, I have some earrings and some necklace and some gold, and people will give you money on deposit for the gold. All right, I'll go see if I can get a loan. As he was going out different places looking for people that could give a loan, he heard a Bhagavad Katha. So he just sat down for 7 days, absorbed in the Bhagavad Katha. And when it was over, he realized, uh-oh, I forgot all about the marriage, and I was just absorbed in Krishna Katha, the Bhagavad Katha. My wife's going to be really upset with me. I may have to tell a lie. But how can I tell a lie? The lie I could tell, he started contemplating what lies he could tell. I could say, I went looking all over the place and tried different people, and they said no. So I tried. When he came back, as he's approaching the village of where his wife and daughter lived, he was hearing people appreciating how nice the wedding was. It went fantastic. We'd never seen such a fantastic wedding. So when he got home, he asked his wife, what happened? Said a little 11, 12-year-old blackish-figured boy came and brought loads and loads of paraphernalia and rice and ghee and flowers and this and that. And when I asked him, who sent you with this? He said, Goswami did, you. And you did such a good job getting all this paraphernalia together. It was just a fabulous wedding. Yogakshema Vaham Yaham. You know the verse? Bhagavad Gita? It's a very nice, very important Bhagavad Gita verse. Krishna says, unto those who are like Narsi Mehta, unto those who are constantly devoted and always engaged in my worship, small condition, unto those persons I carry what they lack and preserve what they have. Very nice. He wasn't wanting Krishna to be his servant, but his consciousness was like that of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Now, this family is your family, and we're part of your family, and surely you'll take care of the necessities of the family. And you gave me the benediction that I could just be engaged in Krishna bhajan, so I'm just doing my duty, and you need to take care of these things, and Krishna took care of these things. That was the relationship that Narsi Mehta had with Krishna. Now there's one other story, and we'll end. There's many. It's said that when there's certain festival occasions where Narsi Mehta, especially in that area where we just were, are held busloads and busloads, and it's a big event to just describe, as we do for our Gaudiya Vaishnavas, great acharyas, and hear their pastimes. They love to hear the pastimes of Narsi Mehta because of his pure devotion. pretty special. Oh, I think I mixed up the stories here. No, I didn't. Yeah. Story number 2. There were 4 sages headed on a pilgrimage to Dwaraka. They passed through the town of Junagadh, the town of Narsi Mehta, and the stretch between Junagadh and Dwaraka was known to be a little dangerous, forested area particularly, rough and tumble, a little risky to carry money, and so they had an idea. They had 700 gold coins, and they would place the gold coins in deposit with someone, responsible someone, from Junagadh, with a promissory note that somebody, that responsible person knew in Dwaraka, would give them 700 gold coins. Yes? So as the 4 sages were looking for such a person, somebody who was an enemy of Narasingha Mehta suggested, why don't you go to him? He's the most responsible, most reliable, most responsible, most reliable person in Junagadh. Is that all right? A little too much? Somewhere in between? Okay. Because this enemy of Narsi Mehta knew what he would do, 2 things. They knew that as soon as he received the 700 gold coins, what would he do with it? He wouldn't hold it. He'd use it to feed the Vaishnavas and Brahmins. And he would say, no, I don't know anybody in Dwaraka. But so he instructed the 4 sages, he's very humble, you have to be a little forceful, just like insist on it, don't take no for an answer, and get it in writing. A promissory note that his friend in Dwaraka. So they found Narsi Mehta, he said, no, I don't have funds, and I don't have any wealthy people in Dwaraka. So I really can't oblige you. Oh, we insist, you must, you're the reliable person, everybody says it, you must, you must, you must, you must, you must. And so he relented. He wrote a little note, promissory note. On the shore of Gomati, Sri Dwaraka, Sri Krishna Vasudev Yadav, Shamlal Seth. Seth means somebody who's wealthy. Shamlal Seth is Krishna. Shamlal Seth. Your servant Narasingha Mehta has received 700 gold coins. Kindly give them what they ask for. So they got their promissory note. They gave the 700 gold coins to Narsi Mehta, who spent it all feeding the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas. They went to Dwaraka looking for Shamlal Seth. They couldn't find him. Nobody ever heard of a person named Shamlal Seth. And then they realized, the 4 of them, we've been tricked. Now we not only can't enjoy our pilgrimage to Dwaraka, but we're out of 700 gold coins. So then they went back after their pilgrimage to Dwaraka and confronted No, excuse me, they didn't go back yet. They're having this, argument amongst themselves, what to do. Krishna came. Krishna came in the form of a wealthy person, saying, "My name is Shamlal Seth. Is there something I can do for you?" He said, "Well, we were looking all over for you. Where have you been?" He said, "You haven't been looking for me, you've been looking for money. But I'm Shamlal Seth, and I have whatever money you need, so you please tell me what it is that you need." They showed him the promissory note, and he gave him the 700 gold coins. And then Shamlal Seth wrote a note for Narsi Mehta, saying, "I, your servant Dwarkadish, am writing this letter. I have given the gold coins which you wanted me to give. For any work in the future, kindly write to me. And I will always be at your service." Servant of Mehta Narasingha, signed Dwaraka Yatra. Embarrassing, my phone is on. From some unknown number. Isn't that nice? Very intimate devotee of Krishna from his childhood, throughout his life, and Damodar Kund at Raivata Mountain was the principal place where he resided. Very famous throughout Gujarat, and again contemporary or near contemporary, something like that, of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So I've not heard so much about him before preparing for this yatra, but apparently there are Krishna bhaktas that have great regard and veneration for him. So while passing through Raivata Mountain, intimately connected with Dwaraka Leela, lots of appreciation for such a pure devotee of Krishna. It's hard to leave. Nice temple room, very beautiful deities, fans in the ceiling, no bumpy road. But our yatra is calling us to go to the next place. And we'll be in another temple, another nice ISKCON temple, ISKCON Ahmedabad. I've never been there, but I saw Yasomati Nandana Prabhu, my god brother, who was established that temple and has done so much service for Prabhupada in this area, and he's going to be there, and he's eagerly awaiting. He's agreed to speak tomorrow morning with all of you. And I'll also speak. He wants me to speak primarily, but I twisted his arm and he'll speak something. You'll see his health is very fragile. He's had some strokes, so he's not his normal vigorous yaso, but a great hero in Prabhupada's army in many, 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 many ways. Very strong intellect. He joined at a college in America, as did I. immediately just, I'm with Prabhupada, and has been that way since. Radha Nila Madhava, the deity's name? We'll offer our obeisances before Radha Nila Madhava. Thank the devotees for hosting us here at ISKCON Rajkot. And off we go to the buses for the next part of our journey. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.